In this video, I'll show you how to level up your graphic designing game by creating custom vector shapes and logos using Adobe Illustrator. First of all, if you're new here, welcome to Learn, Share Photo and Video. My name is Cjam, and on my channel we do photo editing tutorials, video editing tutorials, and graphic design tutorials just like this one. So if you like that kind of content, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future videos. Now, a lot of you LSP viewers have been requesting Adobe Illustrator tutorials, so I'm really excited to share this one with you, and I hope you guys find it valuable and you learn a lot from it. Now, as you know, I started my graphic designing journey using Photoshop for over 10 years now, but what I've come to realize is when it comes to creating custom vectors, shapes, and icons and using the pen tool, Adobe Illustrator has a little bit of edge over Photoshop, and that makes it perfect for your custom logos. Now, I'm not saying Photoshop is better than Illustrator or vice versa, but what I'm saying is, based on my personal experience, I've come to realize that Photoshop operates on a pixel level and Illustrator operates on a points level. So if I have a piece of graphic or shape that I made in Photoshop and I made it a particular size and want to stretch it by increasing the size to put it on a larger template, when I increase the size of that custom vector in Photoshop, it will start to lose quality because it was made at a certain number of pixels. But on the flip side, when I do the same thing in Illustrator, the points in that vector will not change. Illustrator will just move the points around while I increase the size of that vector, and that's what I really love about Adobe Illustrator. Not taking anything away from Photoshop, as I've said before, Photoshop is my first love, but Illustrator now has a special place in my heart. So now let's dive into Illustrator and start creating, but remember, obviously you're going to need a copy of Illustrator for yourself to follow along. So I'm going to put a link in the description to Adobe's website where you can subscribe to Illustrator or get it as a trial. So here we have Adobe Illustrator open, and as you can see right away, it looks very similar to Photoshop, right? We have our create new or open option over here. We have a little welcome graphic here, and you can click one of these options here to start quickly creating by using a preset size that they have right here. And I'm just going to go ahead and click create new right here, and then I'll get this dialog box that says new document, and you can input your size and your DPI just like how you can do on Photoshop. And my sizes and DPI are already ready to go, so I'm just going to go ahead and click create. All right, and here we are. This is our template, and I'm just going to click Ctrl and S to save this, and I already have my folder here that I want to save it in, and I'm just going to name it LSPV Illustrator Tutorial 01. All right, and then we're just going to click save, and then this dialog box will come up with some fine-tuning options, but I normally just click OK. I don't normally change anything here. Now, my workspace that I have here, meaning all of this screen area right here, is custom set to what I like, so yours might look a bit different. But as you know, we can always go up to window and come down here and click, and then anything you want to be on the screen will be there. All right, so like I have properties here, properties is checked. I have my swatches here, swatches is checked, layers is checked, and my layers are right here. So you just go to window, and then you can turn on whatever you want to be visible in your window, and then you can go ahead and go to workspace and then save your workspace by just clicking new workspace, and then you can save it as whatever you want that workspace to be named, and then every time you open Illustrator it will look the same just as how you set it. So that's a quick pro tip for you guys. And as you know, similar to Adobe Photoshop, we have our tools over here on the left that we'll be using. All right, and I mentioned properties tab over here earlier. So as we go along, I'll explain and tell you where to find stuff to get you started. So what I normally do is I do a quick little sketch of whatever idea I'm bringing into Illustrator. And I know what some of you are saying. Oh, Cjam, I can't draw. I didn't take art in school. I didn't take art in school. I just did it in 7th to 9th grade, and I only did it because it was mandatory. And that's it. That's the only time I did art. But I can draw naturally. And yes, even though I can draw, I may have an advantage over somebody who can't draw. But I do believe that if you're planning on using Adobe Illustrator or even Adobe Photoshop for that matter, then you have some creative muscles in you and you need to flex them. So I believe in you guys. Because when I say draw or sketch, I'm not talking about anything elaborate. If your idea is just a circle with a horizontal line going through it and you want to bring that into Illustrator, then sketch a circle with a horizontal line going through it. Let me show you. So all you're doing here is just a circle with a horizontal line going through it, and then this is my logo, and that's it. It's just that simple. I'm sure you can draw a straight line. If you can't draw a straight line, you can use a ruler. If you can't draw a circle, we have tools to draw circles for us. So be encouraged. Invest in a book if you have to. Invest in some drawing pencils or pens. Get your ideas out of your head and onto paper. So the first logo that I want to make today is one that's called, well, the logo is not called Chef Mel, but it's for someone that says they wanted to see a logo for Chef Mel. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a chef's hat, and then the word Mel underneath it. All right, let me just start by full screening this by pressing F on my keyboard. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hit P on my keyboard to get the pen tool. And then I'm just going to start by drawing the chef's hat. All right, so according to my sketch here, it has 2 straight sides and then a curve. But what I can do is I can only draw half of it, and then I can just duplicate that half, right, to get the other side. Now I want this same curve right here on top here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hit Shift and C on my keyboard, and that will allow me to just select this curve, and then I'm just going to hit Control and C to copy, and hit Control and V to paste it, right? And it gives me that same curve. Oops. And then I'm going to hit V to move it to where I want it, which is right here on top there. And then I'm going to zoom in to show you something. See that? They're not joined as though the bottom edge is joined. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select them both by hitting V and just dragging and highlighting them. And then right click and click join. And let's look at the edge now. See, it's perfectly joined, just like the bottom piece, right? Now what I'm going to do next is I'm just going to select this entire thing, hit Control and C to copy it, and then hit Control Shift and V to copy it in the same coordinates. And then I'm just going to go up top to Object, Transform, Reflect, and I'm reflecting it vertically right there. It's already selected, 90 degrees, and I'm just pressing OK, right? Now I'm just going to move it over by clicking it and then selecting both of them because they're 2 different elements, and then right clicking and clicking join. Now when I move it, it's moving as one element. That's pretty cool, right? So we just made our custom shape to represent the part of the chef's hat that sits on your head, right? All right. Now I'm just going to make the puff part of the chef hat, and I want to do 3 puffs, like 3 curve puffs, right? But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to design half of it. So I'm going to design 1.5 and then copy it and flip it and join them together, similarly to what I just did here. All right, let me just zoom in, not so much. Now I'm just going to make my curves, my puffs, by hitting P for my pen tool, starting about right here, or not exactly touching, but it doesn't matter because we'll modify it later on, right? And then I'm clicking as I just did to get the first point. Then I'm going to click for the second point, but before I click and let go, I'm just going to click and hold, and that will allow me to drag and get a curve, right? See that? I'm still holding the click, but I'm just going to undo that because I want a bigger curve. So I'm just going to go farther away and then click and hold, and it will give me a curve just like that. But what I can do is I can undo that one more time, Control and Z, then come out here, do a smaller curve, and then Illustrator will give me a natural second curve point to where it think my curve will be best made, right? So it's telling me that right here is the best thing for my curve. So I'm just going to follow through and come about here, and then I'm just going to make the next curve, you know, half of the bigger puff that I mentioned. So that will fall about here maybe, and then I'm just going to click and hold Shift, and it will just give me my curve on one axis, right? All right, and it's giving me a next curve, but I don't want that, so I'm just going to press Escape on my keyboard. All right, what I'm going to do next is select this shape, oops, Control and Z, undo, press V, Select this entire shape, hit Ctrl and the C to copy, and then Ctrl Shift and V to paste it in the exact same coordinates. And all we're going to do is go up top to Object, Transform, Reflect vertically. Okay, there we have it. And I'm just going to align it. Select both of them, click, right click, and then click Join, right? Then I'm just going to align them by selecting them both, clicking Align Horizontal Centers, and there we have it. That's pretty good, right? We're looking good. Let me just increase the size of this by hitting Shift and clicking and dragging in one of the corners, aligning it once more. There we have it, right? Not too bad, right? But what I want to do next is, you see this curve right here? I want to have that same curve right here on the bottom of the puff, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hit this puff right here, right click, click Join, and Illustrator will automatically join it for me with a straight line. See that? And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to change them both from a fill to a stroke by just coming right here and clicking this arrow, and it says swap fill and stroke, or I could have just hit Shift and X. And what I'm going to do next is just change the color of one of them so I can see the differences. Next, I'm just going to move the part that goes on your head up, making sure the edges are in line. This needs to be a bit bigger, so let me just stretch it by holding Shift while I'm dragging it, aligning it once more by selecting both of them. Maybe it wants to come out some more. Let me just click, hold Shift and drag out a corner, and then align them once more by just selecting, sorry if I'm moving fast, and then aligning, right? Now what I can do is I can just click on this, move it up just like that to about there. See, it meets just about right? But nobody's going to zoom in on your design and look at it that much. All right, and what I'm going to do next is I'm just going to click the portion that goes on the head and then hit Control and the right square bracket to bring it forward. There we have it. And I'm going to select them both. And then I'm just going to come over here to my Pathfinder tool under my properties. It's right here, or I think it's right here as well. If it's not there for you, you can just go to Window and then Pathfinder and it will pop up. And I'm just going to click minus front. And what that will do is it will minus the front shape. And right now the front shape is this brown area that goes on your head. It will minus that area from wherever it is overlapping the other shape that you selected that is behind it, right? And in this case, it's just these two shapes. So it's just going to minus this area right here from the black puff area, all right? So let me go ahead and click minus front, and there we are. But what happened is it deleted the brown part, and that's not what I want. So let me undo that. And then let me just click Alt and click on the brown area and just drag it down, and that will give me a copy. And then let me just minus front one more time. All right, there we have it. Now what I can do is just move this back up and just align it. All right, and there we are. Let's zoom out. How does that look? That looks like a chef's hat, right? Let me just change the color now. I mean, we're not too fussy about the color, we're just designing, right? Let me click and change the fill color. And what I wanted to do next is just write the word Mel underneath it, because remember, it's Chef Mel is the name of the logo, right? It's the name of the brand. All right, so I'm just going to hit T on my keyboard for my type tool, and I'm just going to click and type MEL, but that's way too small. I'm just going to come up here and change the text size. See, I have my tool options here, as well as the right side on my properties tab, just as how we do in Photoshop, right? Let me go ahead and make it about 200, and then that's probably too small, but let's go ahead and work with that for now. And let's change the font to something real nice, real quick. Should I use Nexa? Culture. Let's use Nexa, because why not, right? But let me just make this a bit bigger and just align the centers of it. All right, and what I can do is I can just select both pieces of the chef hat, right click and click group, Or I could have just hit Control and G on my keyboard, that is the grouping shortcut, and then align them once more. And what I wanted to do next is just right underneath it, just write Executive Chef, right? But let me make this text a bit thicker by going Nexa bold. That looks better to me. And then let me just write underneath it by hitting T again, and then writing Executive Chef. Let's make this a bit smaller, right? Let's align it center. Let's change the tracking to about 100, 200, and make it a bit smaller, even smaller than it is right now. Alright. Is this aligned center? No. Alright, let's select all of them, align center. Let me change the align to Artboard. Align them once more. Let's make this a bit bigger. That's probably too small, right? That looks better. Let me go 300 with the tracking. And this as well, let me increase the tracking to, no, that's too much. Let's do 100. All right. Align them once more. And what I can do next is, because this text is, you see there's some space right here, that will affect my aligning, because it's not, it says it's centered, but it's not really centered. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to duplicate this text, so I always have both of them. I just selected both of them and held Alt on my keyboard and just clicked and dragged it away, and Alt automatically created a copy. What I'm going to do next is I'm just going to click on the text, select both of them, right click and click create outlines, and that will convert them from text to shapes or vectors, right? Now when I align them, they should align perfectly. That's how they are aligned. And what I can do now is I can just distribute the centers evenly. Well, not like that. Let me just make selection, just click distribute vertical centers, and then what it will do, it will give it the same space in between each element, right? Well, that's not working to how I want it to work, so let me just do it manually by just moving this up a bit, moving the mill and the shift up a bit. All right, and then aligning the centers to the artboard once more. And then this looks fine, but what's kind of off here is because the L is kind of not as full of a square as the M, because it's just, that's just how the letter is. I'm just going to write out chef mill instead of mill executive chef. All right, so I'm just going to come back here, change this to chef mill. And that's the good thing about Illustrator, you can just move things off to the side instead of deleting them. As you just saw, I could have went back for this, see that? I'm just going to remove the executive chef, remove it, and then size down the chef mill to about 300. All right, then align both the centers. Convert this again to outlines by right clicking, turn it to a vector or a shape, aligning it once more, making it even bigger, and then, well, not too big, aligning it once more, moving it closer to the chef's hat. All right, and that's it. Wait just a second, let me try and put the chef on top and the mill on the bottom, and then see how that looks, right? So let me come back here, ungroup, Control Shift and G, or just, I could have just right clicked and click ungroup, and then I'm just going to move this, change this to chef mill, and see how that looks. Size it down to 300. No, I don't like that. Let me go back to what it was before. Let me just put a little text underneath the bottom that says maybe pastry expert or something. Some other tagline could go here, but let me just use pastry expert for now, right? And then just group everything, and there we have it. So we successfully made our chef's hat vector that we can use for our chef logo, right? Let's try some colors here and see what we can come up with. Oh, let's just right click on group, or what I could have done is just pressed A on my keyboard to select a particular element. I'm just going to select the puff right here and change the color to white. Obviously it's not going to be visible. Let me do a background color by hitting M on my keyboard, making a background color for the artboard, changing it to like blue or something, and then aligning it to the artboard, and then moving it backwards. All right, let me just move it backwards by hitting Control and the left square bracket, and then moving it all the way behind everything. And you also have layers right here. You can see each element that you have here. This is the rectangle. This is the word mail. Well, mail, that's off screen here. If I turn it off, you can see. So it's the same concept like Photoshop, right? And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to change the color here of this by clicking, changing it to white as well, and then changing the word chef mail. Oops, nope. Let me ungroup everything just to make it easier. Change the color of the chef mail to about what goes well with this? I don't even know. No, that's not gonna. I like this orange, right? If she's a pastry chef, I like this orange or this color. I like that. What do you guys think? No, let me use something else. Let me get some more color options here by going over to my swatches, right clicking, open swatch library. Let's go foods, then fruits, and it will give you some more colors, and you can just click and move this and pin it right next to your swatches. All right, now I can choose a lighter yellow. All right, that looks more like it. And then change the pastry expert to the same color by just clicking on the pastry expert and clicking I on my keyboard. And what I will do, it will just give me an eyedropper tool or ink dropper tool, and I can just click on it and it will give me the same color, right? Anywhere I click, it gives me the same color. See that? All right. Let me change this. Let me change this to something else. Maybe let me do gray. Yes, all right, that's where I'm going to leave this for now. Control and S to save. All right, what do you guys think? What do you guys think? I mean, this isn't final. This can be whatever you want it to be. I'm just giving you the general idea of how to create your custom vectors, right? So I'm just going to move everything off to the side by just hitting V, selecting everything, moving it off to the side, hitting Control and G to group it, so wherever it gets moved, it's all the same. All right, it's all moving together. The next logo that I have in mind is that of a zoo logo, and the reason why I chose the zoo logo and the chef's logo is I don't think I've ever designed a zoo logo and a chef logo before. Have I? But I've never done a zoo logo, never ever done one before. And when I thought about the zoo logo, I said, hey, maybe, well, not maybe, the zoo logo definitely had to have an animal in there. And I drew the sketch and I took a picture of the sketch to bring into Illustrator. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to trace over the sketch that I did, right? Because that's also a guide for you to know how you can perfectly envision your idea and bring it to reality in Illustrator. So here's my photo right here. I'm just going to drag it in, and it's of an elephant within a circle. All right, let me just go ahead and crop this. I'm just going to hit crop up top, click OK, and I'm just going to crop the unnecessary portions out. That way I can see what I want to use. All right, then I'm going to click apply. All right, and this is what I'm working with. And then I'm just going to trace over this with the pen tool, right? I'm just going to hit P for the pen tool. And what you're seeing here is this area is a circle. This other area is another circle. And then what I wanted to do is I wanted to make this area like a green leaf behind him, because zoo, jungle. And then obviously this right here is the elephant, right? So let's start on the elephant first and then take it from there. Let's start with the tusk of the elephant right here. All right, let's just click, pressing P to get our pen tool, and then we're just gonna trace, escape because we don't want that, and then we're gonna come again and click and get another curve to get our tusk, and then we're clicking escape because we don't want that suggested curve. Then we're pressing V, and then we're clicking or just pressing shift and X to change the fill to a stroke, and then we're just increasing the size of the stroke so it's visible, right? There, that's what we have so far. Not too bad, right? Not too bad. All right, let me just do the ear of the elephant next, and then I'm just going to click here. I'm just going to try my best to trace this out. Nothing is wrong with tracing your own sketch because it's your sketch, right? Just clicking here, coming with a curve. You can always fine tune your curves afterwards. About there. And then here again. Then I'm just going to increase the stroke by pressing V, clicking on my selection just now, or my line that I just drew. There's no stroke. I'm just going to click this to black, increase it to 5 so you guys can see it, right? Is it 5? This is 7. Yeah, 5. All right. That's what we have so far. Let me just, oops. I don't want that to be moved, so let me come over to my layers and let me just lock that drawing right here. That's the drawing. Let me just, that's what we have so far. Let me just lock it. That way it cannot be moved, right? So what I'm going to do next is just increase the size of the strokes to about, let's do 30. Yeah, that should be fine. All right, let's try the trunk next. Let's start right here, out by the edge, and then let me zoom out. I'm just going to do one curve, like literally one curve. Wait, should I follow the inside curve or the outside curve? Let me undo that. Let's follow the outside one, the wider one. All right. Perfect. Escape, and then P again to select the pen tool. I'm just going to follow the curve, but this time I'm going to bring the line of the trunk all the way up to here, right? I could have done more than one curve for this portion, but we're just keeping it simple, right? All right, then we're just gonna meet right here to here. All right, P again, pen tool, clicking at the edge of that one to continue with it. Coming here, making a curve here. All right, let's see what we have so far. Control and S to save. And then let's see what we have by turning this off. Ooh. 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 What do you guys think? All right, we're looking good so far with our custom vector logo. All right, let me just make the eye right here. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do with the eye. If I wanted to just make it a circle, you know, that would probably be too creepy. See that? I'm not sure. I mean, I could have left it there, or what I could have done is I could have just followed the sketch that I made and just made it you know, a little like closed eye, you know how animations are normally depicted. But I wasn't sure because the emotion of the logo tells a lot, right? That looks much more pleasant to me. This one right here. What do you guys think? I think I'm gonna work with this one. All right, so let me just go ahead and make the circle, the first circle, by hitting L on my keyboard for the ellipse tool and just clicking and dragging out a circle while holding Shift to get a perfect circle. And then I can literally just duplicate that by hitting Control and C and hitting Control, Shift and V to paste it in the same coordinates, and then click and hold Shift on one of the edges and hold Alt as well to expand it, right? All right, there we go. And now we can turn off our sketch because I think we're almost there. And we're going to color this so it looks much more pleasing and makes a lot more sense, right? Okay, so how I wanted to color it is I wanted this inner circle here to be yellow. So I'm just going to come here and select that yellow. Maybe let's go over here to my other swatches and just select a yellow here. And you can see it's in front of our elephant. So let's hit Control and the left square bracket to move it behind. Let's do the same for the other one because I'm sure it's in front. Let me change the fill of this one to blue. Control and left square bracket to move it behind. And then I'm just going to color our elephant now. Now what I'm going to do next is just color our elephant, right? I'm just going to color it by just retracing the shape of the elephant and using a gray to, you know, depict a realistic looking elephant. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lock all of these that I drew, all the shapes of the elephant. That way I don't make any mistake or mess them up. Alright. Then I'm going to take my pen tool, change the color to red, change the size to about 5, and just come here and just start tracing the shape of my elephant, right? Because this is going to be behind the black lines or the stroke, so no one will see this portion, right? Just us, and no one will know it's there. Alright, let me just go ahead and I'm just tracing this around so it's similar to what we did in the last Photoshop tutorial, how to remove a background. You know, we just trace and make a custom selection that we wanted. That's exactly what we're doing here, but we're using the pen tool instead of the lasso tool here in Illustrator. If you haven't seen that video, you can check it out right here up on the top card. And I'm just continuing. Alright, there we are. Just going to change this stroke to a fill, Shift and X, and change the color to gray. Just a really nice elephant's gray. And then I'm just going to move this backwards by hitting Control and the left square bracket, move it all the way behind my tusks and everything, right? Now for the tusk, what I can do for the tusk is I can just draw the same, but let me just lock the elephant shading that I just made so I don't mess it up. And then I'm just going to use the same pen tool and just draw into the tusk, right? But because I had the fill set to gray just now, you see it's giving me a gray fill instead of the red stroke that I used to fill out the elephant. So always be mindful of that, right? Alright, there I have it. And I'm just going to change the color of the tusk to white by hitting V, selecting the tusk, change the color to, are their tusks white or is it like a gray? Like, or it's like a bone gray, because the tusks are bones, right? Alright, I'm just going to move it backward behind the stroke. Alright, see what I want is, I have an issue right here. This line should not be in front of the stroke, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the outline of the stroke and the fill of the stroke and just move them above the elephant's shading. So this is the outline right here. I'm just going to move that above the elephant's shading over here in my layers by unlocking it and just moving it up. And then looking for the shading, which is right here, and moving it up as well. Just manipulating our layers, right? But as you can see now, the shading of our tusk is showing because it's above the ear. So let's just move the outline of the ear above that shading, that way we're not seeing that. All right, there we are. Let's zoom out and see how we look. What do you guys think? This is real nice. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select all of this and hit Control and G to group it. But you see what happened is the grouping is weird because some of the layers are locked, right? You can't group locked layers. So let me just Control and Z to undo that. Then I'm just going to go over to my layers and unlock the ones that are locked. And then I'm just going to select everything once more and then Control and G to group it. And now I can just move everything as a group, right? what I want to do is I wanted to make the leaf, but I think as is I don't need to make the leaf here. Let's just make this a bit smaller. And then, oh, a point to note, when you have some strokes or outlines in your designs, whenever you make it smaller, the size of the strokes won't change. The strokes will remain the same size. So you see what has happened? You see how thick the lines got? So that's always something to note, right? Let me just make it a little bit smaller, see how it looks. Doesn't look too bad, right? Let's group it, Control and a G, and then let's center it. And then let's write the word zoo underneath it, or LSP zoo. Let's change the font to Mixer. Or no, let's do League Spartan. League Spartan should be fine. Let's change the size to 350. Let's align both of them. And we can even do something cooler. We can press Shift and O to extend our artboard. I just got a cool idea. And what if I made this one of the O's in the word zoo, right? So let me just come back here and name this ZO and just made it as big as right click, create outlines, and then made this like big enough so that the elephant logo is one of the O's in the zoo. What do you guys think about that? Alright, wait, let me just move this over. So you can either do that. Let me see what that looks like. Move this forward. Alright, what do you guys think? Let's move it over just a little bit. What do you guys think about that? I think it works. So we could do that, or we could just do traditional lettering, traditional wording. Sorry, Shift and O for the artboard tool once more. Let's just move it to the side. Bring this back up. LSP Zoo 300. Align centers by selecting both of them. Let's group them and then align it to the center of our artboard. LSP Zoo. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? Now, to save your project to a file format that you can actually use, you'd go File. You can do Export or Export As. Let's just do Export As for now. And then let's choose JPEG from this drop down box from Save As Type. And then let's use Artboards, and let's just choose range, which is 1 because we only have one artboard. And then let's just click save, right? And then here's your quality box. You can choose the quality of your export. Let's just choose maximum and leave everything else as is for now, and just click OK. And then let's go ahead and check out our file, right? So here we are. This is what we made. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? Let's go ahead and look at the other one. What I'll do here is I'll just go ahead and hit Shift and O and create another artboard by clicking and dragging. And that's what I want. And then I can change the size of that to 2400 up top. 2400 by 2400. And then I can just drag the previous one that we did onto that artboard and just align it. There we are. Then we can save this one by selecting this artboard and click File, Export As, Use Artboards. Let's choose 2 because this is an artboard 2, because the first artboard that we have is artboard 1. This one is artboard 2, and let's click Export. Same thing as before, OK. And then let's go ahead and look at our file. Here's the chef one that we did. Really nice. I really love the blue background here, and the white chef hat is so clean. What do you guys think? Please let me know. Please let me know in the comments below. So we started from our sketches and we ended here and here in Illustrator. I think we did good. I think we did real good. So with these two custom logos that we did here today, are you ready to level up your graphic designing game by diving into Adobe Illustrator? Or if you already had Adobe Illustrator, have you used it before, and how confident are you to start using it now? Let me know all of that in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to subscribe to the channel with the notification bell turned on so you don't miss any future videos. Once again, my name is Cjam, and I will see you guys in the next video.